down. Okay, hello. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Queen's Room podcast. And for the first male guest today, the first male guest today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about dating with kids and are your kids a deal breaker? And for that today, I have my lovely, another Live member with me today, Mr. Jonathan over here.
How y'all doing?
So I just want to get right into it because listen, it's a lot when folks have children, a child, or more than one child.
Mm-hmm.
So the main question I just want to start with is, for me, because I don't have any children, are kids a deal breaker? No. How your kids act though is a deal breaker, but I don't blame it on the kids. I blame it on you.
That is true.
How you parent would be to me, because I know everybody wasn't raised the same way, but I look at how you raising them kids, because if you're a potential dater, if I've already accepted that you have kids and we dating, and I'm an intentional person, then that means I'm intentionally dating. If you can't handle these kids, and I want some children, nah, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. But I know you have a different perspectives on that because you are a father.
Yeah, I would say the perception is pretty much the same, and everything you said. That's what first and foremost, I put that on my Instagram story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as children's mannerisms and attitudes being a deal breaker, and like you said, it's not the child's fault that they're there, but if they're not if they're not being respectful, or like if their mannerisms are far beyond your standards, it can cause friction in that relationship. And me being a father myself with a daughter, there's things that she do where I can tell you right now, like if I was dating somebody right now, like it'll probably drive them up the wall. But it's also my job to be responsible that if I'm gonna put my daughter in front of a woman that I'm dating, that everything is already, established across the board before that happens.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, even not just our culture, but anybody that matter, that we overlook that a lot. And I think that happens a lot with us, that you'll see the person you're dating, but because they have they're beautiful, they have a good job, all these wonderful things you see in them, you forget they have one or two or more kids.
Right.
And that's something that has to be taken into consideration, because even like when I saw my therapist and I told him about what I said, and he explained something to me, and he said that when you are dating someone that has children, you're taking on the mother side because you're already with them, but you're also taking on the father side as well. So you're taking on both sides of the family, whether we know it or not. And if there's multiple children involved, now let's say there's three, now you're dealing with three different mothers or three different fathers that are in that situation, and it's actually a lot to take on.
Yeah.
Because you got to look at, like my mother said, the gene pool.
Yes.
Like you got to consider all that stuff, because let's say like I'm a disciplinary, like my child structure, you say yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. For an adult, you say Mr. or Mrs. But then let's say the woman, me being the guy, the woman is like, well, I don't care what they call you. Like they can call you by your name, Jonathan or Terrence or whoever. And if you're raised to where you respect your elders and your adults, that can be an issue as well. Or even all the way down to, just how they carry themselves. Do they come up behind themselves? Do they use foul language? Like what things do they carry that they're bringing into the relationship as well?
Ooh.
And it's interesting because I've seen relationships where that has happened, where they ignored those signs. They look great on photos, but behind closed doors, it's like
Instagram.
you have to wonder. it's a whole nother life. And that's one thing we have to consider when it comes to dating people with children. It's far beyond just finding a babysitter to go out. You got to understand what's going to be your role. Like even me
Right.
as a father, I'm a father figure. Like
Mm-hmm.
the influence I need to have on the children, because as a parent, you are responsible what you put around your children,
Mm-hmm.
in your children, who's around them. A lot of people say energy. I believe in God. So I believe that spirits do travel amongst families,
Yes, they do.
and even generational curses. Like what
People.
what's in the family, what's in the genes.
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor T.D. Jake said it one day when he said, when you're dating somebody or if you're being serious, you really got to look at the whole family on what you're
Yeah.
about to marry yourself
You
into.
marrying everybody. I'm divorced, y'all, so I know.
Me, and that's the thing, me too. And that's where when I took the time, and not to speak bad on my ex-wife, so just so we're clear,
Mm-hmm.
but I missed those things when I was dating her.
Mm-hmm.
Got married, had a child, raised a family, and then when I dug deep into the family tree, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Mm-hmm. You like
and it's
you?
not.
Oh,
And she probably felt the same way looking at my family. They go to
right.
church a lot. They're very spiritual. And whether she was or not, but at the end of the day, whatever we did not evaluate beforehand led to us where we are today, because that wasn't touched on beforehand. And I played my part in it, and she did as well. So it's not a bad thing or speaking bad upon her, but a lot of things could have been avoided if if we just had that real conversation with ourselves and say, let me do my due diligence with this individual, whether it be man or woman.
Yes.
Even if you don't have kids, do your due diligence. Because if you don't, that's what causes divorces, infidelity, and things like that. It's just something that I've learned over the years of being married and being a father.
Just let me. I wrote some notes. It do have something to do with kids, but it don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people realize that when you with somebody or you dating somebody with kids, because I dated people with kids because I'm 33, so it's not that many people I know my age who don't have kids. So
Mm-hmm.
that child has both sets of genes in them because that's how you make children.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you see the traits that you might admire in whoever you're dating, they still have that other set.
That hasn't came out yet.
That cousin, cool, that has not came out yet. And, and it may be some things that you don't like about the child because it reminds you of that other parent, but that's not that child's fault. That's just the other part of that child. So don't be resentful or treat a child a certain kind of way because there's something in them that reminds you of the parent that you're not dealing with.
And
Is that happens?
that could be difficult
Because I'm
because
in a
there's
blended
times.
family now.
Exactly. And there's times where my daughter has done something where I know it's the other side, but it's like you got to catch yourself and
Mm-hmm.
be compassionate, because it's like she's also my daughter, but she's also her mother's child as well,
Right.
and you got to be careful. Also, with people who have children, you got to understand, like if they're acting like the other side of the family, whether it be the mother or the father, you really have to look into that stuff.
Yes.
And when I spoke to my therapist, I asked him, I said, am I shallow for feeling that way where I go all the way down to the children's mannerisms and how they were raised on both sides to make a decision? And he said, no, it's actually being responsible,
Right.
because you really got to understand when people say, like, even with me, me being single, if a woman says, I want to be with you, you're a good guy, my daughter is attached to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be ignored, and vice versa. Any woman that has children, I have to consider that they come with her. But at the same time, you still have to do your due diligence on what's coming behind her and those children, even with the mother or the father.
Yeah.
What's on my side of the family, my mother's side, or my father's side?
Right.
Because it's not just my child, but it's a lot to take on. And my therapist also said, there's nothing wrong with asking yourself, do I have the energy to take on all this?
Woo. Mm. Mm. That's a
It's
whole.
okay to ask yourself that
That's a
question.
word. That's with anything, though. That people. That's with anything. Me and my best friend was just talking about, to segue off that a little bit, the different ways we can say no.
Mm.
Sometimes I have a hard time saying no. And I saw something and said, because I don't want to is a valid reason. Like, I don't have to give you a reason why I don't want to expend my own energy and my time. I don't want to. And that should be enough because I don't want to. You're asking me to do something. It's not the other way around.
Mm. And
Ooh,
that's where we have to be real with ourselves.
mm,
And I don't think we ask ourselves that question enough.
mm,
That
mm,
he gave me a quick story, a true story that he knew with a couple of people. There's two guys. One was older, one was younger. The younger person was married, been through a divorce. The older guy was married and he was still married. And the older guy asked, well, why don't you get married again? Marriage is beautiful, marriage is fun. Yes, you had one bad situation, but there's always you're young, you still have room for another marriage.
mm.
And he said, I looked at myself and said, I don't have the energy for this. The older gentleman got offended by what he said because he's thinking, well, I'm older, you know what I'm saying? I know what I'm talking about. You should. But the younger guy told the older one, no, it's just, I've been through it before and I don't have the energy for it.
Right.
There were times I felt that way when I got divorced. I'm like, man, I want
Ooh,
to do
right
this
after.
again. It's like,
Right after. Because let me tell you, when it's final, first of all, when you just finally decide and figure out y'all breaking up, especially if you've been with somebody for a long time, because I was with my ex for 9 years. And I
mm-hmm,
felt, I was saying, I used to say this all the time. It was my whole 20s, because it almost felt like at the end, I done wasted my whole 20s, but it wasn't a waste. It
yep,
was just a lesson and something that had to happen. But that part where it's right after, oh, I don't want to hear marriage. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see dresses. I don't want to hear about nobody wedding because I'm looking at y'all like y'all stupid. I really want to do this. So it took me a while. First, I had to heal. I had
mm-hmm,
to get over my own bitterness to be like, okay, I do want to do it again, but it's so much work that I'm going to have to do. And I don't mean work like work on myself with everybody. I mean, like you said, due diligence with this person because I didn't do none of that. And you said something about you see a little bit of the other side of the family in the person you're with,
mm-hmm,
but when you that little bitty thing that you see in that person that you're dating, they somebody else's child, and then you meet
mm-hmm,
their parents and you figure out, oh, that's where that came from, but it's exacerbated in them. It's exacerbated
mm-hmm.
in that family. It's much bigger, so you might be able to handle it on a small scale because it's with that person, but it could show up bigger later because it could be a generational thing. It might have just skipped the person you with and show up in your child. So
Exactly.
you really gotta. It's almost like you gotta be the FBI,
And there's
especially
nothing wrong with that. That's what people don't
considering
understand.
who you having kids with. Like, it's a lot of
Bingo.
people. Like, why you don't have any kids yet? You 33. Cause I don't. I might be 37, 38. That don't matter to me. I have to make sure that's a child. That's a whole child that you bring it into this earth. I got to make sure
Exactly.
the other parent is where they supposed to be. I need to make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I got to consider my genes and J genes and that stuff that you're putting together to make
Mm-hmm.
another human. So, and you can't control what they get from your side or their side.
Exactly. And that's what I was trying to, because when I put the post on my Instagram, some people have responded and say no, it shouldn't be, and some people kind of on the fence with it. But I just want people to understand is that as adults we have to be responsible,
Mm-hmm.
and when you have kids, even more responsible on
Mm-hmm.
how things are handled when it comes to dating somebody with kids. Because let's say you don't have children and you're dating somebody who does,
Mm-hmm.
like that, you have to do your due diligence with that. Like, are you ready to be that father or mother figure, consider you don't have kids? Or do you have the energy to say, I want to take the time to get to know that child?
Mm-hmm.
Because that happens a lot too. People get into relationships where they focus more on the mother or the father, but they forget that kid is right there. And
Yeah.
they probably think, oh, the other parent is involved. You know, it shouldn't matter but it does,
Mm-hmm.
even down to discipline. Because we can all say that we're mature, but
Kids.
Let that time come when a mother or father says, okay, you could discipline my child within reason. Because I had that same issue when I first got married. My ex-wife's son, she said, okay, you can discipline him because she felt she trusts me to do so. And I made this promise to her that anytime I disciplined her child or her son at the time, I always did it in front of her so she can see it wasn't done unjust or out of anger or trying to overpower.
Right.
But we were in agreement, but his dad wasn't. So
Oh,
now his dad hears about it from the son. Oh,
yeah.
Mr. Jonathan beat me. Now I'm about to knock out his dad because now he want to come to my doorstep with nonsense. But that's the stuff we have to understand. That's what comes with all that, for all the due diligence. How mature is the other parent that's involved? If they're not involved, what's going on? And we have to ask ourselves, even after the things happen, it's like kind of like a job. If it's been like 90 days and you've seen all the dynamics, you got to ask yourself, just like a job would, do we have the energy to deal with this person at this job? And it's okay to ask yourself that question, even after a certain amount of time, after seeing all the dynamics in the relationship. Do I have the energy to do this? But we live in an era where if you ask yourself that question, you're being selfish. No, I'm just being careful.
Team no sleep. No, that ain't me. I got to get disease. Like everybody is just supposed to accept everything in this time, and I'm just like, some things are just not okay. It's okay that I'm not okay with something and I don't share with everybody. That's not what Jessica was calling the trend that we live in the world right now. Everybody is supposed to be okay and accepting of everything. I look at stuff like, that's none of my business most of the time. That's none of my business. I don't maliciously do anything to anybody or anything. I mind my business and stay in my lane. However, right is right and wrong is wrong. It's too much gray area. That's almost a whole other episode. It's too much gray area in the world and the culture right now with stuff. If something is right, it's right. It's wrong, it's wrong. But that's another reason why people need to be careful who they have kids by. Because right when I got divorced, I was in the process of about to start IVF. I would have had a child with this person. And then all the stuff that happened after that, I would have been pregnant going through that. Then I would have had to deal with custody. And I'm like, not like you said, not to speak ill of my ex, but I was delivered from that relationship because I cannot imagine going through what I was going through in that relationship with a child. Because that wouldn't have been good. And then IVF is a stressful process anyway. So no, inexpensive. But again, I don't even live that type of lifestyle now, so I've been delivered. I got another question since you're a father. When it comes to dating, because as single women tend to do, and single men too, when they dated somebody who have kids, do you feel like you're rushed sometimes for people to meet your daughter, or they want to meet her? Okay.
No, because it goes back to the statement I said.
Wait a minute, we gotta pause. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Let me pause this screen. Woo! Child. I ain't never moved so fast in my life. Hold on. All right, everybody, we're back. We had to take a brief break because a spider tried my life. He descended from the ceiling.
I was helping you look for it too. I'm like, where'd it go?
No, listen. So but what I left off asking was, are you ever rushed for people to meet your child, or has somebody ever rushed you?
I'm not in a rush for a woman to meet my daughter, only because, like I said before, I'm very careful on what I bring to my daughter and who I bring my daughter to. Now, considering that we go to the same church, a lot of people already meet my daughter already. So if it comes down to meeting a woman that I want to date at the church, it's kind of like not really rushing because you've already seen her or met her. However, it would still take time to let them spend time together in the
Right,
sense.
right.
Um, Only because even with me being a father, I want to make sure that the next woman that I date, that everything I just mentioned and further on the conversation as we speak, that all of my standards are established. So when the woman comes into her life, is because this is how I feel real quick. I feel like if you're a single parent and the person who's coming into your life, man or woman, they are an addition for growth, not to go back, step back 10 steps, 20 steps to fix things that I feel like as a father myself should have done or as a parent should do before they bring somebody else into the fold.
Right.
That's, like I said, that's my personal opinion, to each his own. But I feel like every parent should already have their established protocols and established, standards before a person comes in, because I feel like the person you bring into your life, the man or the woman, should not have to clean up what you should have already did. It should be more so just adding on to it and progressing. If you do have mistakes that happen, it's like falling forward and not falling backwards.
So. Betty Wright, I am not the cleanup woman. I just heard the cleanup. I'm not her.
Yeah, and I know it may seem like, and like I said, we're in a generation or an era where if you say these things to a man or a woman, hey, listen, I'm not here to clean up this mess. I'm here to add on. You're considered self-centered, you're selfish, or you don't want to put in the work. It's like, no, I'm not here to fix this. This should have already been done. The only thing that the only thing that we should be doing as a man and woman in a relationship with kids is that we're progressing forward as a family, not trying to fight all the curses, not trying to fight all of the bad habits. Like, that should have been kicked. I'm not saying be perfect, but like my daughter, she's 6. I get it. She's going to grow up. There's going to be problems, but I'd rather it be new problems with the woman, not old problems when she's added to the family. And it's just one of those things where all that I spoke to my therapist about, and I feel okay saying that is my truth. I'm okay to say if I date a woman who has kids and it's so much, I can sit back without regret and ask myself, do I have the energy for this? Because I already have my stuff to do. My daughter, whatever comes with her, whatever comes with me. However, I feel like to make our lives easier when it comes to dating is that if you don't have a established order in your family, don't date. And I think we get so caught up on trying to have that family structure that we don't actually do the work before we add it. It's like buying vehicles in a sense. Like, you buy a vehicle, if you gotta do a little cosmetic touch-ups, fine. You want to add rims, cool. But who wants to buy a car that they gotta put a lot of work into to get it to run, where you bought it from a dealership and that should have been your job to do that before you sold it to me?
Because we was talking about this. We was talking about this in episode 3 about thinking of your body as like the car. Like, as soon as you drive off the lot, it depreciates.
Well, I'm 35. My knees hurt sometimes, man. Come on.
Listen, I can't just sit up and get out the bed. I have to sit up and think about life. Because if I get up too fast, I hear it when I'm down here working out. I'm doing simple things with small weights, but I hear noises in my elbows. I didn't know elbows made noise, but apparently they do. And I'm 33. Elbows make noise. But I wrote down something you said about established order. People don't realize how important that is. Like, you have to have, I don't want to say a schedule or a routine, but your life should be set up in a way that is structured. It have to be some sort of structure, because if you're wild, no offense against people who are wild and free, but you can't be too wild and too free. I feel like, even though I don't have any kids, I have a lot of godchildren and I have a lot of nieces and nephews. The parents know that when their kids come with me, this is how I am with the kids. This is the sort of disciplinarian I am. We believe in my family wholeheartedly that it takes a village to raise a child. So they know, hey, we go over Gigi house, because the guy kids call me Gigi. They come over here with me. Hey, you might get tapped a little bit. Over here we do that, but that's what happens at home. I never discipline outside of the realm of how the parents discipline. Mm-hmm. But the parents also know that when they come over here with me, these are my rules.
Exactly.
So now you have your rules that you have to follow at home, and my rules too. But I don't ever say you don't have to do that because you're here with me, because I feel like that's disrespectful to the parents, because they're not with me every day. You know, I'm just Gigi. I'm just Aunt Samia. So they're not with me every day. They have to go home eventually. So I don't want to make it be a disruption from my house to their house. And I feel like that needs to happen if you date somebody with kids too. If their parents have a certain rule for them, the parents need to have the structure and the order already together. So, hey, you going over here with your dad, you going over here with your mom. If their girlfriend or boyfriend over there, whatever. But these are still the rules. And everybody need to be on the same page with what the rules are. Because I'm not going to bring up anybody's names or situations. I'm going to bring up a situation, I don't say no names. I've seen where kids have went to a relative's house, and it was over there for a long time. Then they got to come back home and get retrained.
And on that thought, that's something I've learned as a parent that's going to be expected. But it's how it's done. Like with my daughter, when she goes to her mom's house, and one thing I want people to understand too in this video is that it's not to run everybody's household.
Right.
It's that, like, even with my daughter, like, let's be realistic. Anytime I had disciplined my daughter, I've always told her, if you don't do it to me, don't do it to your mother.
Right.
Like, for example, if you don't jump on the bed at your mom's house, but you do it at my place, no, you don't pick it. No, it's across the board. And one thing about me is respect. That's one thing I put across the board, because there's going to be different dynamics in the households. But as long as it's understood that, let's say my daughter's mother has a boyfriend, he's still Mr. So-and-so to you. Because if you're calling my woman that I'm dating Mrs. whomever, it's still that respect factor. And I just feel like that, like you said, but the child still has to kind of get retrained, because keep in mind, when my daughter goes to her mother's house and she comes to me, because it's still fresh in her mind where she came from, yes, there's still going to be some times where I have to kind of tone it down and say, hey, but not to make them feel bad where they came from, and say, hey, don't you may, I try not to say things like, this ain't your mama's house. And she knows it's not, but it's like, there's ways to approach it by letting them know, I understand you did that over there, but now you're over here.
Right.
Because there were times when I was married to my daughter's mother where her son would go to his dad's house, but when he come back, he'll come back crying. So I would have to console him and kind of bring him back to mold into this. So I would say you are right with that, but there are some parts where it's going to happen, because there's different dynamics in the households, but there's ways to approach it to where as you come, it's like, we still welcome you and whatever you came from, but let's slowly usher you back into this dynamic without it being so harsh, because that can cause a lot of dysfunction in children, I've learned. And it can make the child seem like they have to choose who's the better house or who's the better parent, because as soon as they come to the door, and let's say my daughter did something at her mom's house she did over here, and let's say I discipline her for it, and I do it so many times, she's gonna start thinking, well, I just stay at mom's house. I mean, I leave this bliss to come to my dad, and also I'm getting hit with the belt since I do something wrong. Like, hey, I just got here.
I can do whatever I want at this parent's house.
Exactly.
Because when my parents got divorced, I brought this up in episode 3. I think we were the only kids that I've known that we were okay with it. We was like, whoo, y'all should, because they was 16 when I got divorced. Y'all should have been did this. Because it got to the point where the kids, we were like, hey, one of y'all need to do something, because this ain't working with the two of you. but I never got the feeling like, okay, this not gonna fly at this house. I did have one parent that was stricter than the other. So the other parent, because I'm not gonna say which was which, one parent was extremely strict. The other one wasn't really strict. They just had expectations of me, and it basically was, long as you do what I asked you to do, you can have whatever you want. But I still didn't go to the other parent's house thinking like, well, I'm not over there with them, so I'm not gonna do that. I didn't do that because the parent that I was with that wasn't strict would still be like, hey, now you know, if that don't like you, if that don't fly over there, it's not gonna fly over here. So don't even. And then my parents still talked to one another. We still went on family vacations together, and they wasn't together. You know, we still, to this day, they both remarried. One has been remarried for, I think, 12. My dad has been remarried for 12 or 13 years. My mom has been remarried for like 6 or 7 years. But we all went on family vacation together. We all have Thanksgiving dinner together. But all the kids are grown. But still, we've seen that mutual respect for each other since we were younger. And it has been times where people have dated my dad and they didn't want to meet us. So where they at? and I'm a daddy's girl. It's 3 girls and 2 boys. All the girls are daddy's girls. All the boys are mama's boys. But if you don't want to meet us, that's going to be, for some parents, I already know, because this lady didn't want to meet us. Breaker. That's a deal breaker. You don't want to meet us. I was another lady who, she had kids and my daddy had kids. She used to get upset that my dad wouldn't do as much for her kids as for us. But I'm like, we are his actual children. He's just dating you. He don't have any real responsibility to your kids. Now, he would do stuff for him. Like, if he picking us up from school and we all go to the same school, okay, cool. But if we go to different schools, of course he gonna pick me up first.
Yeah. And that's where
my daddy and everything.
And that's where a lot of people get misconstrued as well. Like, to me, it's okay to, if you do it by choice. Like, if I'm buying my daughter a pair of shoes and the woman I'm dating has a child or multiple children, of course, me, because I'm, you know what I'm saying, that's just the kind of person I am. I'm going to think about your children. Am I obligated to do it? No. It's a choice. That's if I choose to say, hey, what size your daughter? You're somewhere. You know, I'm getting some shoes for my daughter. Do they want a pair? That's an option when you're dating. Now, when you're married, I'm not, to me, this is my opinion. When you're married to that person, depending on the age of the children, because if they're adults, hey, do your thing.
Listen, hey,
but if they're minors, they're now your responsibility.
Right. Right.
Like, you have to pick them up from school, no matter what school they go to or what size shoes they wear.
Like, we don't use the word step in my family. So when my dad got remarried, I was old enough, like I was 20 or something like that, 19. But my little brother is my little brother. It's obvious that we're not blood related because he's white, but that's still my brother, period. Like, you can catch these hands about him like you can about all my other siblings.
Exactly.
Them is still my nephew. We don't play no game. We're not playing no game. That's still my brother. I don't even say stepmom. I say M2 because she's been in my life for almost 20 years at this point. My mom's husband. I call him D2 or Dad 2, but I usually say D2. I call them by their first name, you know. But we don't use the word step because in my mind, I have an idea of what marriage is, and 2 become 1. So your unit is added to their unit. Even though I'm divorced, I still have strong, because I didn't want to plan on getting divorced the first time. So that's another thing I want to throw out there to people. When I got married, I believed the vows I said. I believed them. The problem is the person you marrying got to believe them too. No shade, no tea. I'm not throwing nobody under the bus. I'm just saying, the other person, you need them to be on the same page. But we weren't on the same page before we got married. We weren't on the same page most of the relationship and got married anyway. So I'm glad that God kept me from having children with this person, because if we wasn't on the same page any step of the way, how was we going to be on the same page to raise the kids?
That's true.
So I got a
And
question
like,
for you.
and even to this day, like my daughter's brother, when I was with his brother at the time, like I still call him. Like I said, I agree with you as well. To piggyback on what you said,
Mm-hmm.
I never called him my stepson. I always called him my son. Even to this day, I still call him my son.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the dynamics between me and his mother are not where they are.
Mm-hmm.
I speak to him through social media, but we still communicate. And
Mm-hmm.
to this day, I still call him my son. I still tell him I love him, because it's not his fault what happened between me and his mother. And I'm not
Right.
going to act like it is.
Right.
So no matter how old he gets, like I'm always be there for as much as I can. If he calls my phone and says, "Hey, Dad, I got a basketball game," I'm going to show up. And
Right.
it's not to. And some people will look at that, and which I've had battles with that too with other people, when
Mm.
they say, "Hey, you're not with his mom no more. You ain't got to worry about him." But it's like,
That's not how that
nah,
works.
but he still needs. And the Bible talks about it. I don't want to misquote it, or as far as like the wrong scripture for the Bible thumpers out there. No, because you know you got the fashion police,
Yeah,
church
yeah.
police.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it
If they
talks
was,
about,
they ain't no more at the scene in the first episode. They should be all right.
and there's a scripture that talks about that, about a father being a father to the fatherless and the brothers to the motherless. So
Mm-hmm.
if any woman to this day still sees me talking to him, it's not about the mother, it's about him needing a father figure,
Right.
because his
Right.
father is not involved anymore. So it's like, if he still calls me dad, says, "Hey dad, how you doing?" I'm gonna still do that role, because to me, for me to be a man of God, that what would I say about me as upholding the scripture, upholding standard, to
Mm.
say, "Oh well, I ain't with your mama, so you bump you too." Nah, he still
Right.
needs a father figure.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as he still calls me dad, I'm still call him son. I'm gonna still be there for him.
Right.
Period.
Right.
No matter how old he gets, how old I get, even getting remarried. Hey, I
You
still take
gotta,
on to
hey, you
him.
gotta understand. This
Yes.
is just what it is.
Yeah. And I
Some
hope that a
things
woman
you just
understands that
you're gonna
it's
be
not
okay with it.
about, and I hope a woman understands that it's not about the mother, it's about him. Because that happens a lot too, because like they say, it's a package deal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the standards come in, where the order comes in. It has nothing to do with her. It's about him, because
Right.
he still needs guidance. He's only 14. He still needs guidance. He still needs that person to say, to even encourage him as a man.
Right. And in a young black man in this day and age, in this time, and the climate of the country right now, it is important. It is important. It is important because I have an awesome black father. And I didn't understand how that made me a minority until later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got one point in life, I was actually picked on for having a dad. Like, bullied.
It's crazy,
For
because
having a dad.
when I was growing up, I wasn't ashamed to talk about my dad, but I was afraid, because a lot of
Right.
people I knew didn't have their fathers.
Right.
And I didn't want them thinking I was trying to showboat and say, "Yeah, I got my dad
Right.
around," and they don't. Because I don't do things to hurt people's feelings intentionally. Even when I talk to this day, because people say I'm a very blunt person. Like when I say something to somebody, I guarantee you it's out of love and just me loving that person. But some people may take it as, like my mother always said, sometimes the way you say it can come off as not harsh or hard, but like very strong. And it's like, I'm a very passionate person when it comes to people I care about. I'm gonna talk to you like that coach. I'm gonna talk to you like that friend that needs to tell you, which is very rare. Like, I'm gonna come to you with passion. So anytime I talk to a person and it seems kind of strong, is all out of love, because I want to see you prosper and grow and be the best you can be. So sometimes it
Right.
takes that.
Listen, I tell people all the time, I don't, people either really like me or they don't. And it doesn't seem to be a middle. But I think people like, one thing I was worried about when I did the first episode, like people at church. Because I know, I got a lot of friends and people I know at church, you included. They never saw this side of me, but 9 times out of 10 at church, I was working hospitality. So I'm in work mode anyway, or I'm in
Mm-hmm.
praise and worship mode. I'm paying attention to the word. I still have a daily life that I live in my personality. I'm just me. And if you
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen it from me or you don't know it from me, that just means you don't know me. That don't mean I'm being a different person. I think so.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know me well enough to discern whether or not or you different on it. No, I'm not different. You just don't know me well enough. You haven't had access to me to know how I am and how I talk and what I think like. So what I'm saying may sound, oh my God, you said that. No, the people who know me aren't surprised. People who know me aren't shocked. I get described as extra a lot by my siblings. I'm just me. Now, people at church will probably be like, "You being described as extra?" Yeah, because I'm quiet. If I don't know you, I'm quiet. If I don't know you, um, people would describe it as shy. No, I used to think of it as shy. Now I think of it as I don't know you. And even as a child, I was very observant. Like, okay, I'm just gonna watch. I know I'm not gonna say this or not be myself around you, but everybody don't get shouldn't have that true access to who you are as a person. And I have a very big thing about access to me because of past trauma. So I'm very careful about who has access to me. And think I would be the same way as a parent, but that was a whole nother segue. But I'm just saying.
But
um,
in this climate, and I agree with going to church. When people see me, I'm in hospitality, or I'm in praise mode. And then when people see me like hanging out somewhere, it's like, why are you so quiet? Well, that's me. I'm very limited who has access. Like my god brother Calvin, that goes to live, always said,
mm-hmm.
I could live under a rock or X, Y, just different stuff. But he knows. But people have asked me who hang out with him, like, why are you so quiet? Well, I'm just careful who has access to me. And considering that
Quiet
I
to
have a
you.
child, I'm even more limited because, like I said, from the things that are being exposed in this world,
Mm-hmm.
from the sex trafficking, all these different things, people who trust like family members are molesting their nieces and nephews, and it's like so.
Mm-hmm.
But it all boils down to the dynamics. Like I'm gonna keep it real. Like don't be surprised if I start asking for background checks in your family. It's like it's not that I don't trust them. It's just that I don't want no.
Hey.
I'm careful who comes around my daughter, and same thing with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to make sure that the woman I present my daughter to, and vice versa, that you're not getting no BS with me
Right.
or my
Right.
child.
Right.
And I hope that any woman that hears this will feel the same about themselves. Not to say they don't, just don't be afraid to have that real conversation with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if there are areas that you need to fix it before you get into a relationship, because it, it's like people always do that when it comes to healing for
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Preach.
Self-love, self-care. It's like, no, if you got kids too, you got to make sure they're straight too, because my daughter to this day still says, Daddy, I like one time she cried, I think it was last week, and she said, I want you to marry my mom again. And I'm like, now, at my secret place, I'm like,
Mm.
nah. But it's like,
No, fam, no, no, not
like,
at all.
it's like nothing against her, but like, let's say for example, her mother did come to me and say, you know what, I want to try again. I still got to ask myself a real question: do I have the energy for this? And if I
Oh,
don't, it's okay to say, much love to you. I wish you well, but I'm not. No, it was a
peace,
roller
love, and
coaster
hair
before.
grease. Mm-hmm. Peace, love,
And
and
that's
hair grease.
yes, love, peace, and chicken grease. So that's why,
Listen.
and that's why I let people I hope people understand that it's okay. Actually, I think it's necessary
Mm-hmm.
that you have that conversation with yourself and say, and like I said, people, when it comes to healing, oh well, I got to heal myself before I move on. I got to do this and that, but you got to heal your children too,
Ooh.
because if you start bringing people around they're not healed yet, then they're going to start acting out. Then they're going to start doing things you may not approve of, because it's like you have to set the tone for the next person to come in. And that's one thing I'm doing with my daughter as well. I'm setting the tone so that any woman that comes in, she's not trying to fix 10 years worth of issues that happened before she got it. That's not her
Right.
job, and it
With
shouldn't
no
be.
context or nothing. Because all
Yeah,
you
I'm
can get
yes.
is the secondhand information about how it happened.
And I will never go by that phrase again where people say, you know, not saying take me as I am, but it's like, you know, I look at it a whole lot differently now that I've experienced being married before and being a father.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total package. Oh, it is. But before you open that box, make sure you read this whole manual. Like it's just like having
Listen.
instructions. Read this whole manual before you start trying to put a nut or bolt into this couch or this futon you're trying to build or this shelf.
Come on, somebody.
Ask yourself, do I have the energy for this? If not,
Come
take it
on,
back and get a more
somebody.
simple one.
Come on,
It's okay.
somebody.
It's okay to have a simplified life, but
Woo.
if you're going to go into a big situation, you really got to look at that and be like, read through it. When I say do your due diligence, hey, what kind of family do you have? And we don't ask those questions. We're so quick to ask what kind of job do they have, what kind of car you drive. Well, do you love God? That's great. People love God and they still do hellish things. So it's like okay, let's dig deeper
Woo,
into the
come on, they still
people
do
that you're
hellish
in.
things.
I mean, I'm no better. I'm
Straight
not a
from the
saint. I mean,
death.
I have my mistakes, but and it's like we don't do that much. And
Gotta take some
I hope
notes.
I hope that people will start doing that more when it comes to relationships. And if, I think that this is my personal opinion that if we take the time to do the digging into what we're getting ourselves into relationships, there'll be less divorce. There won't be just children out of wedlock running around here wondering when these and not it seems like blended families is a new 20. When to me it should be kind of more so like, which unfortunately a lot of people have to go through it or have gone through it. But it's like if we do that, there will be more structured families than blended families. Nothing wrong with blended families, but it seems like that's the new thing, a blended
Right,
family. When it's
right.
like you look at other cultures, they'll let you know, oh, so they'll do his part,
Mm.
and they mean that. And it's
Yeah,
like,
they do.
and the
You
family,
got
even
to
the family has to get
literally die.
involved, and that's where even the family has to get involved and sit y'all down and say, listen, you guys going to fix this. Versus, I hate to say it, but like even with our culture, we're so used to just going to our friends and saying, hey, they ain't gonna do it. You know, go live your best life, forget them. And then we have so much going on. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
where's the structure in our family? And then it's already bad enough. The government don't want to see us together from Section 8 to child support.
Come
So
on.
let's not make it
We're not
let's
gonna
not
talk
make it
about
worse by not
redlining.
let's not make it worse by
But unfair
not doing
living
our due
practices.
diligence to have those structured families.
Not funding for schools. It's okay.
It's
It's a
it's
list.
Oh, trust me, the systematic racism, all that stuff. I'm aware of everything. I mean, I don't want to say I'm woke because I've done my research even from high school on what's been going on. So that's why
Some
even when
people
I
are woke, but
was,
they're not aware
people say
or
they woke,
alert.
but it's like you got to be more than just woke. You got to actually like look at what's being happening around you.
Mm-hmm.
And like I tell people, it started from slavery, but here's where we break that generational curse by not just not letting society determine what a black family should be.
Jesus.
And I know a lot of people may disagree because I'm not sure who all follows you as far as that race, so it's not a race card I'm throwing. But let's just
Oh,
put
they
the
already know. I
facts.
stay on this channel all the time. Black Lives Matter. If you don't like it, you ain't gotta watch it. But I'm just
Oh
telling
yeah,
you.
I got the American flag shirt.
My grandmother was a Black Panther, so we're not even gonna go there. Just saying. She was
and
a Black
that's
Panther. Now she's a preacher. So listen.
mm, and that's what I want people to understand from my statement that I made on Instagram. It wasn't to attack children, which nobody took it that way.
Right.
But
But somebody going to, because there's some people who find offense in everything.
they haven't done it yet. Maybe because I look intimidating, they don't. But I don't know. I mean,
Because he look
no,
intimidating. Okay.
no, you'd be surprised. People are like, why you look so mean? You got a unit on your
Oh, I hear
face.
it all the time.
No,
Why
I'm
you look
good.
so mean? And I had to say on men, because it's the only people who say it. No offense, sir. Let me just
Mm-hmm.
get PSA real quick. Stop telling random women, damn, why don't you smile? That was supposed to make me smile. Now I got attitude. I didn't even have attitude. I just had regular face. And now damn, okay, it can't be that hard. It's not hard. Can I help you? Now I'm frowning. I wasn't even thinking about frowning. I just wasn't smiling. Instead of just doing something to make me smile and catcalling, whistling, barking like a dog, none of that makes
I don't.
me smile. So
My
don't do that either.
my business name speaks for itself. The distinguished gentleman, mobile
Yes.
detailing. But like I tell people, it's not just a name; it's also a lifestyle.
Come on,
Pe-
lifestyle. That's a queen
People
room.
have people have told me like like your character speaks for itself, and it's like that name came because of my lifestyle. I'm a gentleman. I'm not going to whistle and holler, hey, red, hey, sexy,
Oh,
shorty, you know, like all that different stuff. I was like, nah, I'm going to approach you and say, hey, how you doing? My name is Jonathan. You mind if I take you out? You know, that kind of stuff.
Regular.
Now, if you say no, you say no. If you say yeah, you say yeah. Just sometimes yes can catch you off guard. You be the woman you never expect to say yes. Sure. You're like, oh shoot, all right, cool. You know, not to say you weren't confident, but it's like, you know, some things we get caught off guard because we're like, oh shoot, she said yeah. All right.
Fellas, if you do that to a chick and she respond, run. Run. Cause them type of women, I like we going way left, but I don't care because like I said, it's my show.
That's cool. No, we can go left, right, go back on subject, off subject. I'm cool.
That made me think of something about the whole Meg Thee Stallion got getting shot thing, and Drea, who was what I call one of the people who famous for nothing. It's a lot of them. They're famous for nothing.
Real Housewife of this and that, Love and Hip Hop.
She was on Basketball Wives, but she wasn't married to nobody. She used to date Chris Brown. So I don't understand. Okay. Anyway,
all right, cool.
She was saying, I want somebody to love me so much they shoot me. No. Let me tell you something. I love Jesus. You know, and I said in the other episode, 3 or 4, maybe both of them, in the first one, God is going to perform work on me until the day he returns. So y'all need to understand that I'm still a work in progress.
I try to tell people you're going to be forever changing.
If you shoot at me, let me tell you something. My daddy and most of my family on this side is from Mississippi. And the other ones is from Arkansas. You can shoot at me if you want to. You going to come up missing. I'm just going to say that.
I'll try.
We're not doing that. If you shoot at me, I'm not that girl. And no offense to any other lady, I'm not that girl. You gonna get shot at back. I'm just saying, you got a gun, I got a gun. We're not finna do that. You're not about to shoot at me or shoot me. Ain't nobody even gonna know I got shot. Listen, don't do that. I'm a nerd. I know a lot of stuff about stuff for no reason. So we're just not gonna do that. Just don't put your hands on me if you want hands.
Hey, and one thing about my family, we may not talk every day, but one thing my mother always told people, believe it or not, we're very close knit. We don't express it much or show it much, but I know for a fact, if anything happens to any of my siblings right now, and I'm here in Orlando, if they call me right now and say, Jonathan, something happened, and they tell me what it is, I'll be like, hey, Samia, gotta go, boop, and then I'm done.
We ride
and
together,
I'm gone.
We die together over here. This is But I had a question I wrote down. I didn't want to forget to bring us back.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Do you ever think it's an instance for you, or is there a number for you, considering that you already have a child? You want more children?
Yes.
Would you date somebody? Well, let me rephrase that. You want more children. Would you date somebody who already has kids? And would you have more children? And is there... Hold on just a second. Okay. I believe I was asking about, you said you wanted to have more kids and you already have a child or children, already have children. Is there a number of kids that you feel like is too many? And is there a number of baby fathers that you feel like is too many?
Whew. All right.
Right.
Well, and I would say it like this. I do want more children, but I've always had an open heart to God and say, if the woman has like other kids, I'm okay with that. Because do I have like a number of kids that I want? I come from a big family, so I'm okay with 4, 5, 6 kids. I'm okay with that. Now if the woman has like 3 kids and I have my one, and we have one of our own dynamic, but I would like to have a child with the woman that I'm with, because that's something I feel special that we would share.
Right.
Outside of marriage and being together. Baby fathers, I'm not gonna lie, that's a slippery slope. Now, because I understand things happen, Now, if you have 3 kids and you were married before or something, had a child, okay, cool. You know, later on in life, maybe a few years later, you had a couple more kids with another father. I don't have an issue with that. Now, if you got like 5, 6 kids and 4 different fathers, it's like, I ain't
Right.
gonna lie. I mean, I got nothing against it, but it's like, I don't know. I got to talk to God on that one. But as far as like, if you say baby daddy caps, I mean, if you look at baby daddy caps, I'll probably say 2, real from my secret place right now. 2 is my cap as far as baby fathers, even me, because like I said, I'm according to society and statistics, I have 1 baby mother.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I had a kid again, whether I was with her or not. Now I have 2 baby mothers. Now I get married. That's 3 women involved. So it's like I'm very careful. That's why I'm very careful about when it comes to dating with women with kids. It's not to say I'm high standard or something like that. It's just that there's some things I've came to my truth after talking to my therapist. There's just some things I'm not going to put my energy in because I'm looking down the road. I'm not looking at the matching Jordans or outfits we're about to wear to church. Right. I'm looking at the dynamics from the family down the whole bloodline.
I'm not doing that.
No, because I mean, I like doing that. I'm not gonna lie. I like the whole match. I mean, we ain't gotta wear the same exact thing, but we can have the match.
We can match. We don't wear matching outfits.
Yeah, but I don't want to be that picture perfect family where like we look good on the outside, but behind closed doors we're fighting. She's fighting my ex-wife and baby mama, whatever y'all want to call it, and I got to deal with her baby daddy, and then there's war going on.
We was cussing each other out all the way here.
Yeah, like who's saying this to my woman because you feel like because y'all have a child, you can say what you want. And I gotta almost knock you out because I'm tired of you talking to her like that. Now your child got to see it. It's like I'm not, that's too. I don't have the energy for that.
Right.
So the question is, any woman I date, and some women may look at me right now and say, I don't know if I want to do that with him. That's cool. But understand when it comes to me, is that there has to be a very certain level of maturity.
Right.
There has to be order and structure because, like I said, I'm not coming to clean up your mess or cause any mess. Because I'm not going to give you that with my child and myself. Mm-hmm. So if anyone wants to date me who's visiting her, hey, but listen, there's certain things that this has to be established before we become this unit. Because when we become a unit, like I said, I'm a dedicated person and I'm dedicated to my family. Mm-hmm. And I'll fight for my family, even the family that's being brought upon me from a woman that has other kids. But understand something. Right. I'm not doing an unnecessary fighting. I ain't fighting your baby daddy. I'm not fighting your ex-husband. I ain't got time to cuss somebody out. I'm too old for that. If you can't talk like a man, then I'm gonna need you to talk to him so he can. If not, if y'all can't communicate that with each other and vice versa, then nothing should be. Then part our separate ways and enjoy your time. But you learn a lot being married and having a child when it comes to the next step in life to get serious again. It's like a whole different filter system that comes on. And if you're responsible enough, you will look at every single filter and don't compromise. Because like there's some things I'm just not going to compromise, which is respect. I'm not going to compromise that because you feel like your children shouldn't have to respect me as a father figure because they have a dad. And that's cool. Okay, I'm Mr. Brown or Mr. Jonathan. If there's a nickname, okay. But if I'm telling my daughter to call you Miss So-and-so, it's like, I'm not asking your children to call me dad. I would never do that. If they want to call me that, let that be because they want to call me that after some time. Right. But if I'm helping take care of you and we're doing things in the family, out of respect, Mr. will be in front of the name, as I tell my daughter to respect the adult and say Mr. or Mrs. or whoever I'm dating at the time, Miss So-and-so. So it's just, my biggest thing is respect across the board. But as far as the other things, I'm not here to clean up nobody's mess. But just have that real conversation. That's all I encourage anybody to do with children, as well as myself. Like I've been doing, that's why I've been single for this long. I've been divorced since 2017. And while I'm working on myself and getting aligning myself with God, I'm really taking the time to look at myself and say, am I going to allow this to, because anything that happens in your life, you allow. Ooh. So if you're stressed out, you allow yourself to get stressed out.
You invited it.
Exactly. I've had people check my blood pressure. They're like, "Oh my God, your blood pressure is so low. Your heartbeat is good." I said, "You know why? Why? Because I don't stress myself out. I don't, and I'm not going to let nobody do it. That's just." But
I think
the
that's
more
a
of the
double
story,
standard.
exactly, it is, and that's why people say I'm so calm. I'm
I seen
because I
another
don't.
podcast that I like about it's an acceptable double standard in society. Like women cannot, men can have all the kids, and for me, as far as the baby, the amount of baby mama somebody have, and I don't even like using that term, the amount of kids you have in the different mothers, that doesn't bother me. The amount of kids don't really bother me. I consider a lot of things like the age. How old are these kids? How are you taking care of if you can afford to take care of them? And I don't mean just monetary when I say afford. I mean mentally and emotionally. You have the mental and emotional capacity to take care of all these children and understand that I'm gonna want at least one, because I don't see it in my secret place. Being pregnant more than one time. I'm just telling you. Twins running my family too. Listen, just once is enough. I'm feeling like, now that may change once it happened, but still, right now in my secret place, pregnant one time is enough. You know, that's a lot to be pregnant.
It is, and one thing I learned as a father, when you and I loved my daughter's mother once upon a time. Like I joke about with my mother. Once upon a time, I did. And when you're in tune with somebody, I will say this, fellas: if you're in tune with your woman and you want, like I said, we actually planned our child. We wanted to have Juliana, and when she had a morning sickness, I'll be at work throwing up. Like, you're gonna feel the stuff. You're gonna feel it, fellas. You're gonna feel it. Trust me, not everybody, but I just know for myself, because I desire this child. I pray for this child. It's kind of, I think God was probably met, because I was told God has a keen sense of humor. He looked at me and like, "Oh, so you're gonna feel what she feel." Man, dizziness. I'm like, God, I'm at work. I'm trying to provide for this child. You got me about to pass out.
Listen. Hey, because I am dealing with somebody right now that has a number of children. It's more than 4. None of that bothers me. What I look at is how you parent.
Exactly.
Especially because they have lots of girls, and I'm a daddy's girl. So I look at the relationship you have with your daughters, because I think about the relationship I have with my father and the relationship I have with my father. God, that relation. Yes. I think about all of that. I'm a daddy's girl 2 ways. So long as you can take care of these children, because this person got a number of kids. I've dated people who had 1 child, and listen, that child had 20 personalities. And I dealt with somebody where a child was an issue. And we didn't date that long. And the child, he started calling me mom. And I was just like, I'm not comfortable with them calling me mom already. It's only been, and I felt like I met the child too fast, because it was only like a couple months in. I'm like, why am I meeting this baby? And he wasn't a baby. I think he was 9 at the time. So I'm just like, why am I meeting this child already? I'm not comfortable with this. But how do I, but I stayed in that relationship almost a year. I think it was almost a little over. When did it start? February. So a little over a year. And then the whole time I was just like, your child. Every other day it was a phone call from the school, and I'm the emergency contact because I work second shift. So I got to go get the child, and I'm hearing all this mess, and I'm telling you, and you telling me like my child, he didn't do that. So everybody lying, everybody, you can discipline him, and I would discipline him, but I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I felt like it was all but I had a hard time saying no. It was just too. And then on top of that, the discipline wasn't working in any form. None of the discipline was working. Not spanking, not grounding, not taking stuff away. And nothing worked to the point where I'm like, yo, child, probably needs some other kind of help. But then how do you say that to somebody you ain't known that long?
That boils down to this conversation.
Ooh, it was just
like, do I have the energy to deal with this and whatever I give my feelings on, whatever comes after that? And like my therapist said, when in doubt, get out.
Listen, because it was just talking about this on another episode. The doubt. Like, I'm so sure about certain things now that I know back then that it was a situation I shouldn't have been in because I was confused the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not to say this every episode, I think, every lifestyle, but I used to live a homosexual lifestyle, but I was confused the entire time I was in it. I knew that then, but now I'm realizing like this wasn't for you because the confusion about everything. Because I'm thinking, okay, if you like this, then you just like this. And then now it's all these extra letters and stuff added to it. And I'm just confused. But I'm in it. Like, how can you live a confused life on purpose? God showed me what's for me. So when I say I'm delivered, it's funny, but that's a true thing that happened. Because God was literally like, this is what you're supposed to like. Because that over. And when I say I was married, y'all, I was married to a woman, and because you're divorced, you might understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I got married, we should have broken up. But instead of breaking up, we got married.
Same thing. And
people don't understand, like, how that happened.
When you don't have those real conversations with yourself, those things happen. When you like I was saying earlier,
we're trying to make that the last hurrah.
You got to have that real conversation with yourself for everything.
We were only married for 8 months. We were together for 9 years. So it took 8 years to even get to the point, and I only pressured or pushed into the idea of getting married because I wanted to be a mother. But even in that lifestyle, still old fashioned, like, I don't want to have I don't broke that generational curse or wanted to break that generational curse from my family where everybody had their babies out of wedlock. No shame, no tea to people who do, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted my child to have both parents. I wanted you was planned. I don't want to call it that. I'm not gonna call it that. What I was finna say, because I don't want to quote this lady because I don't agree with nothing she said. So I'm not gonna quote her. But I didn't want to have like, oops, you were a pleasant surprise. I don't know. I wanted you here. We planned and prayed about this, took the steps and did everything to get the child here. But shut up. So, but and then the stuff I went through because that was in 2016. Been divorced since 2016. And to me, it seems so far away, but it was only 4 years ago. But it seemed like a whole lifetime. I am a whole different person in so many aspects from then until now, from last year into this year, and the year after that, and the year after that. Because this is why, and you got to be healed, folks, before you do anything. I say that on every episode. Because not being healed, or you're not healed and you're not whole. Me and Manu talked about this in episode 2. The Bible talk about 2 become 1, not 1.5. Or 0.5 becomes, 2 holes become 1 hole. Two of them. 2 holes become 1. Not half and half become
My
1.
friend told me this. He said about when 2 become 1. He said because you're looking at 2 becoming the 1. So he told me this, and I said, so I asked him to see what he would say. I said, so what are you subtracting when you take 2 and they become 1? He said, yourself. And I we there's nothing wrong with no, but you have to know your needs before you deny yourself. Because when
Ooh,
you
come
are
on,
with somebody,
somebody.
because when you're with somebody, it's not saying that's a responsibility, but it's kind of like you're trusting that person that when you deny yourself or take yourself out of the equation, because you're both saying when you become one, you're basically telling that person, I will no longer be selfish. So that's when my friend mentioned that, and he said, you're subtracting yourself. So
Yes.
now you're becoming one with each other. And even the Bible says being equally yoked. The yoke holds both of the oxes in place as they move. It's
Mm-hmm.
not one ahead. It's not one. It's all in one spot.
Mm-hmm. Same
And
piece.
I can say that even with me to when I was, because I've been going to therapy for a while. Even at like saying after my divorce, and I can admit I didn't subtract myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it took me because 10 years total with my daughter's mother between dating and being married, there was still that selfishness that was there. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know it until after we got divorced. And it's like even sitting at the divorce table, just when you're looking at everything just being picked apart,
Mm-hmm.
you're just sitting there like, dang, like.
Mm-hmm.
And then the truth comes out when like I tell people, once that gavel hits, is over. Well, even you're walking away, no matter how much I felt my lawyer did a good job, there's still a part of me that walked away that was kind of like,
I'm divorced.
yeah, it's like what, like,
I'm really
and then
divorced.
it's like, and like my friend said, and it's not to knock anybody who's been divorced, but including myself, and it made sense to me. People who get divorced have some kind of selfishness in them
Mm-hmm.
because if you didn't, you wouldn't be sitting here. Because
Mm-hmm.
you both know that once you give somebody become one, it's no longer about you. It's about the
Mm-hmm.
person you're deciding to become one with. And some people may agree or disagree, and that's totally fine.
No, I had to
But
come to that realization because in my head, how it all happened at first was, oh, this all your fault. I didn't do nothing.
and that's
I'm
exactly
ungrateful. I didn't do
and
nothing.
that's how it happens.
You did something, but I had to, like, this is what I allowed. And my selfish part of that was I just wanted to be with you. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just holding on and holding on. And you showed me every way possible and would tell me in every way possible, this is not what you want.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where you tried to make me into what you wanted, and I tried to be that for you. So not only I started off selfish, then started off not knowing who I was, but I didn't know who I was to begin with. So that all
And that
that
happens a
mixed
lot
together,
too.
I
That
wanted
happens
what
a
I
lot.
wanted. So I wanted. Then it became when we got married. I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to get divorced. I'm like, we going through this problems. We going through because it's been 5 years. We going through this because people say they got the 7 year itch. No, you're going through this because y'all don't need to be together to begin with.
It, and that was me. I was so and I gotta get my daughter to bed. She has on, but I will say this: like
You're fine.
I told myself, I said, there's three things, and I remember saying this. There's three things I want to be before I turn 30. As I want to be a homeowner, a father, and a husband.
Mm-hmm.
I became all three by the age of 27, 28,
Mm-hmm.
and then they got snatched away from me
Mm-hmm.
from everything that occurred. And I realized why everything fell apart because I was so bent on that time clock saying, I gotta be this before the age of
Whoops.
30, where I was like, I wasn't doing
Yes.
the same things I'm doing now. Don't get me wrong. Thank God for my daughter, love her to life. But it's like because I was so in a rush to fulfill that that milestone, I
Yes.
ignored a lot of stuff, didn't
In
do my due
30s.
diligence.
Oh, sneak up
And
boys.
like I said, it's not to speak bad on the mother of my child, but to be realistic, it's not to have an all moment, but it's like, imagine if I did my due diligence, I would not have wasted her time either. Because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just me in that relationship, in that marriage, it was her too.
Right.
You
You took
know,
up each other's time. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, so people, and that's where that selfishness comes in. My time was wasted. And it's like, well, their time was too. You think, and
Right.
my ex even said it. She's like, you think I wanted to get divorced? I said, yeah, but I don't know, but because we both had a midlife crisis,
Ooh.
we created a bigger crisis and now there were
Mm-hmm.
children
Mm-hmm.
involved.
Mm-hmm. And in my
And
case, it was two people who didn't know who they were together trying to figure out who they were.
And that was my truth. And when I was talking to my therapist, he said the number one thing to me: she ain't put a gun in your head. Everything you did yourself. You married her, you dated her, y'all had that kid. So
Woo.
anything that you have been through because you said I have the energy for it, and you did it.
Yeah, you decided I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we're gonna wrap it up here, and I'm gonna say this to the people who are the force. So I have realized, because we're gonna talk about this on a generational episode, y'all, and it will be a group discussion because I'm gonna have a panel for that one.
Oh,
One
I'm
thing,
in.
listen, one thing we'll talk about that is I grew up in an era where everything is ride or die. I'm gonna tell you right now, she don't do that no more. I'm not
Sure.
riding or dying. Listen, if we ain't married, especially, I really ain't doing that because why do we gotta die? I'm not a ride or die. I got questions. My friend Rena always says,
Yeah.
where are we going? Why do we have to die? Is it food there? Can we just meet each other there? Or can you meet me after you go do, like, don't, the person that God has for me, I don't think they would ever put me in a situation where I need to be ride or die. I'm not talking about when life hits and things happen and crises occur.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about you having you violating the sanctity of our marriage. That's not a ride or die situation for me. That's something you chose.
Yeah.
I didn't
What's that?
choose.
They said. Was it Will Smith? I still haven't seen the Red Table Talk, but
Oh,
was it? What
ride
we
together,
ride
die
together,
together,
being
bad marriage for
bad
life.
marriage for life? Yeah.
Lies, the devil is a liar. And he comes
Yeah.
to
I will
kill,
not be
kill, and
living like
destroy. We're
that.
not doing
I
that.
refuse. I refuse.
We're
No,
not doing
I
that
refuse.
again. We learned. We learned.
Yeah.
Well, I tell everybody that, I only promote Black businesses, everything Black owned, Black
Yeah.
Lives Matter over here. And it's a good time, if you haven't done it already, to comment, like, and subscribe on this video. It is also an excellent time to arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. It is a perfect,
Find them
it's
today.
a perfect time for
I
that.
got the shirt on. I got the shirt on. Hey,
Always
listen.
time for that. But the gentleman over here was discussing his business, and I'll let him talk about that for a second. And any information about his business, if you are in the area, I will put down below in the description box. But go ahead, sir. Take a few seconds to tell him what you do and what your
Ah,
business is.
it's a mobile. It's a mobile auto detailing and refurbishing. We do everything from car washing, paint corrections, ceramic coatings, paint repairs, different things that basically deals with automobiles. I do have a network of different mechanics as well. So if you need work done, or
Come
I
on,
know people
network.
in the area.
I said, come on, network.
Yeah, I know. The one thing about business, you got to have people in your circle that can do the things you can't do,
Yeah.
because you made it for something too. I mean, and that's build good rapport, referrals, and I'm a networking nut, so you'll
Mm-hmm.
catch me everywhere. But it all deals with automotives. There's more things to come with that, so I don't want to say too much, but you
Okay.
can look me up at DGMD, the Distinguished Gentleman Mobile Detailing. The website is THEDGMD.com. Instagram /DISTGENTS. And that's also on Facebook. Check out all the cool cars of Ferraris and Rolls Royces and cars that I do. And but
I'm
yeah,
gonna plug all of it down here. Don't worry about it.
oh,
I got you.
it's a sight to see, but I would say it comes with a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, a lot
Yes.
of time, but I'm here for it. It's my passion. So I don't mind the sweat. I call it like I tell my mother, it's all cardio.
That can create that exercise. All right, y'all. That has been another wonderful, insightful, and I feel like dating with children. This is gonna be a topic that we gonna have to revisit. So it might be a part two because it's a lot.
Yes, I look for the comments myself too. So
Listen. So I thank you so much for being my guest today. God
no
bless
problem.
you for coming and telling your business, as I call it, aka being vulnerable and
Mm-hmm.
discussing this issue with me. Thank you for being a Black father, because it's a lot of daddies. You understand me, people?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to the people. Hold on. It's a lot of daddies. It's a lot of fathers, but it ain't a lot of daddies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I thank y'all for coming today and watching this. I love y'all. Peace.